Candace Owens has a new theory, Andrew. I think it's compelling, and I'm going to tell you why.
Hang on. But I also have a new theory.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It is an absolute fact that Charlie Kirk thought that he was a time traveler. He told me he was a time traveler repeatedly. I showed you guys that text message exchange. I said to him in response that I didn't feel the same way and that I thought I was from another planet, that I was an alien my entire life. Just do not get it here. This planet is ghetto. That's how I feel. I don't understand it. The rules don't make sense. I think that's also why I like cats so much. I feel that they can relate to that. They think humanity is ghetto. They don't want to be around us. They don't like us. They know it's ghetto. It is ghetto here, right? CIA's Project Looking Glass. Essentially, there were these whistleblowers, like I told you, in the military and within the CIA apparatus that came forward to reveal that the deep state had a technology, which they stole, of course. Please do not miss the part that I keep explaining to you. These people are not smarter than you. They're just more evil. They steal, they plunder, and they steal things, and then they rewrite history and pretend that they were geniuses. Anyways, they have a knack for murder. They have a knack for theft. And this time, just like a lot of times before, they stole a device from the ancient Sumerian civilization that's located in modern day Iraq. Very advanced civilization. They're obsessed also with Egyptian civilization, as we discussed yesterday. The Satanists kind of taking and reintroducing these things. First, they keep them to themselves. They hoard these things, and then they kind of give us certain aspects of technology as time goes on. So they steal this piece of technology and they incorporate it into a computer, and suddenly they're apparently able to predict future outcomes. Just imagine the deep state being able to look into a glass, so to speak. The Sumerian culture was known for their advancement in glass, and to see different outcomes. I mean, the amount of power that you would have, and then also fathom in your mind that the people that are Satanists have.
Okay, so that is the theory. Now let me break down the theory to you in like a bit more of a concise way, okay? So the CIA, when they invaded Iraq, right, when the Iraq War, potentially wasn't even about peace in the Middle East or anything like that. It was about getting this because ancient Sumeria was located where modern day Iraq is. So they go in there, they get this ancient technology is what they were really looking for. They get the ancient technology, which is time traveling stuff, right? Charlie Kirk is a time traveler, right? Bear with me. So Charlie Kirk is a time traveler. Candace Owens might be a time traveler, and they have to kill Charlie because he went against the continuum, right? Charlie Kirk went against the plan, and they saw into the future that Charlie was going to be a problem, so they had to take him out. So the CIA, with time traveling futuristic abilities, took him out. Prove me wrong.
Well, that's not really the theory. Thinking about the video that she linked to, which is just a bunch of reprocessed garbage from the late 90s and conspiracy boards and then the early 2000s, which is all about simulation theory and this and that. Of course, they brought up numerology. Can you believe it? They brought, of course, a linchpin for the video that she links to is the idea of numerology. But here's what the actual theory is. Zachariah Sitchin finds the emerald tablets. Okay, not kidding. Finds the emerald tablets, which tell the story of Atlantis. Did you know about Atlantis?
Yes.
Okay, great. Atlantis was an advanced civilization, and they made contact with aliens. And what happened when they made contact with these aliens is they made a cross hybrid, which was a mix between the perfect human, known as Edom, or you would know him as Adam, right? Mm-hmm. And Edom, the perfect human, banged one of these alien overlords, and out popped, well, humans like us. And, well, they put them in Iraq. Of course, the Garden of Eden, that's in Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. That's where it's supposed to be. Ipso facto, we have the cradle of life right there in Iraq. It's an alien hybrid. Now, then, we also have this thing that comes up later called the chronovisor. The chronovisor is another way in which you can see into the future. The Catholic Church has it in the Vatican. It was invented by Catholic priests, no doubt, right? These chronovisors. But before that, the Sumerians would use a form of witchcraft, literally known as scrying, where they would look into the glass, and they were able, when they looked into obsidian particularly, to see the future, and then they could make assessments based on the future. What's really interesting about this is they didn't seem to be able to make the assessment that they were that their whole civilization was going to fall. The way that it's explained away here as to why it is that the system is losing control is because somehow all timelines bottleneck in about the year 2012. This has something loosely to do with Y2K and its conditioning over humanity. And because all these timelines bottlenecked, now the elite have lost control. They can't read the future anymore with their scrying devices, whether that be the chronovisor or it is the advanced technology, which was stolen from some Middle Eastern hole somewhere, which is now plugged into computers. And because of this, they can't see the future. They can't make predictions. So the whole system's falling apart, you see. The whole system, because they can't predict what's going to happen anymore. And so Charlie Kirk, who knew this, he was from the future, you see. He knew all about this, and he knew that these timelines converge and it's all going to fall apart. So he came back and took advantage of that by trying to create a coalition of people in order to stop this coming apocalypse.
Yep.
That's the actual theory.
Yep.
If you tie it all together. Charlie knew he was going to die. He was a time traveler. He knew this, right? He went back in time first, used the scrying device before it bottlenecked in 2015 or 2012 or whatever it was with all convergent timelines and discovered his own death. Then moved himself forward in time, as one tends to do. He just appears on the scene as this young, youthful kid with all this knowledge, you see. And he knew the reason he needed to seek out Candace Owens was that so after he was assassinated by the powers that be, in this case, that she would relentlessly toss over every stone possible. No stone would not be overturned to find the ruthless killers, thus exposing the entirety of the plot for humanity's future.
Bro, this would be an annoying TV show, let alone a real life thing. I hate this so much.
I'm not sure. Sure. I'm not sure what's funny.
I believe every word, obviously.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about
evidence be damned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, like...
Yeah, but you have to understand that she's looking at declassified CIA papers, which is true. There was a project called Through the Looking Glass. It's true. And didn't work. Just like there was... the way that they would legitimize this, remember, is that they use other declassified CIA documents, which talk about remote viewing, which, of course, comes up in the video she references as well. But here's the thing that's really funny about this is that the reason we decided that we were going to throw a bunch of money at remote viewing is because the Soviets were doing it. And just in case there could have been any sort of advantage there, we ran the project ourselves. And guess what we found out? Remote viewing is bullshit. That's what we found out. But you know, what do I know? What do I know?
Remote viewing, for me, that's like when I mirror my phone to my TV or something. So what does that mean for you?
Okay, so what you do is first you need to be born a psychic in an X-Man school, much like she was. She went to an X-Man school. Kirk went to an X-Man school, as she says here, right? The very first thing that you need to do is accept that you're... After you've accepted that, you go into a dark room, close your eyes, and you will your consciousness over to whatever the thing is, and then you can see it through your spirit, and it'll create pictures in your head, and then you take those pictures in your head and you draw them on a piece of paper, or you write out and describe what it is that you're seeing. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding about any of this.
Isn't this just like
now? Sometimes using psychedelics seems to help with this process. I have no idea why.
Andrew, isn't this just 5-year-old Q-tard shit?
Well, no, this is actually worse. So this has been around for like 30 years. This is old hat that she's going through.
Is this like this thing where like Trump's uncle was the first one to touch Nikola Tesla's inventions after they were seized by the government?
Yeah. What about the Barron Trump book?
Yeah.
But don't worry, not to worry.
All of that.
She begins the entire podcast with the cornucopia of Fruit of a Loom and saying that she distinctly remembers there was always a cornucopia with Fruit of a Loom. Right. And of course, Berenstain Bears was never Berenstain. It was Berenstain. I'm sorry. Berenstain Bears was always Berenstain Bears or whatever the Mandela whatever it is. When they the George, Curious George, he always had a tail. Pikachu had black on the end of his tail, just like over and over all this. The Monopoly guy had a monocle.
I remember a lot of things like that, but I just chalk it up to like being a bad memory and like Well, smoking too much like weed when I was a teenager. So that's what I chalked.
But it's all predictive programming, though, you see. So you got the Baron Trump book. This was predictive programming. You've got the Snake Eyes movie. I don't know if you've seen the Snake Eyes movie where the guy Kirk is killed on the same day. And this is predictive programming to sort of like tell us what's going to happen without telling us what's going to happen, because they do know the future. And if you look into the number 44, for example, then everything happens on the 11th day.
Okay.
So
there's let me give you some examples of some things which are just in the video that she references, because I watched that video too. For instance, they say people are beginning to claim that as they get older, time is moving differently. And I'm like, oh yeah, go figure. As you get older and you get busier, it does seem like time moves very quickly, doesn't it? Fancy that. And they seem to remember things happening 20 years ago that didn't actually happen. Yeah, it's called getting older. When you get older, the further displaced you are from an event, the less likely you are to remember the tiny details of the event. Crazy how that works, isn't it?
So predictive, give me your final thoughts on this though, Andrew.
Okay, so this is the final thoughts is that I was right. Again, I'm always right about this. My theory, you can go pull this up in the extravaganza. In fact, you should put them side by side, Jake, and just post them on your channel because it's so good. I said, what happens with all the conspiratards? They latch onto a conspiracy that captures the public interest. Once they overplay their hand and the public starts looking into their actual claims and they turn out to all be bullshit, they have to move on to the next thing, right? The claims must necessarily become crazier and dumber in order to keep up with the demand for crazy, dumb claims. That's what has to happen. And so every conspiratard on planet Earth who has a popular channel, that channel always crashes out because of that factor. It has to always get more and more and more insane in order to captivate the audience's attention. There's nothing you can do about that, which is why all of them end up crashing and burning in their reputation right alongside them. Now, you could take shows, on the other hand, like The Y-Files. That show will always do really well. But Andrew, isn't that a contradiction? You just said all the conspiratards, all their channels end up going to complete and they ruin their reputation with it. Yes, that's true. But the difference between her and something like Y-Files is Y-Files is trying to give you both sides. Like, here's what the story is, right? Here's what the refutations to this are. Here's what kind of I think about things. That's it. Very neutral in just trying to like present a fun story for people to watch rather than making these claims as though they are factually true. That's the difference.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Like the Y-Files is just a super entertaining show. I'm not going in there thinking, yes, the Anunnaki thing is 100% true. They did mine gold from Earth. But I'm like, I want to hear the story. I want to hear what people are saying and the refutation as well, and then come up with my own sort of theory about it.
Sure. And that's look, that's fine, right? In fact, that guy is so smart. What he ended up doing was making this Hecklefish character. And the Hecklefish's entire job is to portray his thoughts, which is actually the host's thoughts. But it's not really the host, it's the fish, you know what I mean? So the fish swears and is talking shit and is talking about how dumb certain things are and is diving into the various through the fish, you can get the conspiratard take while the host still seemingly remains neutral.